Hello everyone, this is Alex, and today we are doing some orchestration. We are doing an orchestral rhythmic ostinato. There's a lot of different kinds of ostinatos, and probably the most known of them is the one from John Williams. And it's such an emblematic one. You have this ostinato going and then the other melody that comes off over it. And it works super well because it's always the same thing. But also because there's a kind of shift. It's not like it's not like the same chord where moving between notes from the chords, and then the three quick notes at the end already give this kind of energy also. But today we're looking at a rhythmic ostinato that's a little bit like this one, and it's to show you that rhythmic ostinatos are a really good way to create some momentum in your music without even changing chords sometimes. So you have this rhythmic ostinato that keeps going, and then it's up to you, the orchestrator, to add some color and maybe some lines around to renew it or to give it another context. Sometimes rhythmic ostinatos, you can just keep playing the same notes with the same rhythmic pattern, and even changing, like doing some big harmonic changes, and it doesn't feel awkward just because in our mind we're attached to this rhythmic ostinato. So it's a very powerful tool. So the example today I show you is only a variation between two chords where this rhythmic ostinato keeps going and changing a little bit, but not too much. And I'll show you how in this example I balance the rhythm, the changing of notes, the orchestration as well, and the use of this rhythmic ostinato with another melody and even a third layer that's gonna add some unpredictability into this very strict motif. So let's get into it. But before that, if you're enjoying the content, I'm posting new orchestration videos here every week. So the best way to support me is to join the channel as a member, and you'll even get full access to the scores I'm presenting in this video. And if you're a composer, there's even an option for you to share my music with you that I will be featuring and commenting in a monthly video. So make sure you check the link in the description below. But now let's get back to it. Okay, so for the excerpt we're working on today, I wanted to build a rhythmic ostinato, which would be there the whole piece. I decided to start with just a simple violin line and a cello line, just so to have my upper rhythmic part, and lowest root note of my chords. So the first things I wanted to do here is to have only two chords. So this is all in A minor. From here, you see the root note of A. And around here, we're changing for D major. So just these two chords. And this is to show you that this approach to rhythmic ostinato can really help you create music that lasts a long time. You don't necessarily have to change chords every often, and this is a great way to keep the tension up as well. So for this, my ostinato is really, it's not very characteristic. It's only two notes, and it's mostly a rhythmic thing. So it's less on the melodic side and mostly on the rhythmic side. But the thing is that it's constant. It's only 16 notes, and it's only alternating between two different notes. So C, B, C, C, B, B, C, B, C, B, C, C, B, B, C. And then it starts over. But what's interesting with this rhythmic ostinato is that it's in 7/8. So we have the loop starting again a little bit earlier than what we would expect. We would maybe expect this pattern to be going to a full eight values, so a full like 4/4 or something. But it's cutting it off a little bit shorter before. So let's just listen to these first, to this first ostinato maybe. So not much to say here other than the fact that it's repeated and it's only two notes. So let's go back to adding my bass note again. So I got my A here and then changing to a D major chord. I don't have the full notes of the D major chord here. And notice that I'm touching the B. And this is something I added later on. I wanted initially this to be a A, just to be within the D major chord. But let's go see now my other notes that are doing this rhythmic ostinato. So my strings are really much in divisis, but let's not think about that right now. Let's just see my upper violins and viola part, as well as my lowest cello line that I already had. So see that they are doing different notes. So we got the C here, we got the E, and again the C at the lowest octave. But with the second part here, when the upper violin goes to the B, we have an E minor chord. So really the root of this chord is the A. It's like we're in a long A minor chord, but this little rhythmic ostinato will start touching other chords just momentarily. And this is no modulation, this is no changing of chords, it's just a large broderie or neighboring chords that we go and touch to add a little color in the sound. And this is a big part of this rhythmic ostinato thing. So let's just listen to these 4 lines together. Interesting, right? And when we change chord around here, we also keep alternating between this D major chord and also, again, this E minor chord that's already always there. Even though it's not part of the main chord, it's just a neighboring chord that we go and touch to add a little bit of color to the sound. And also, this gives some personality to our ostinato. And notice also at the end, this kind of gesture starts slowing down, and the last note is repeated. But see that I touch a E and I hold the E until the end. So this creates a E, F sharp, and D. So we have a little friction between the E and the F sharp, while still hearing the D at the root, even if at the end it's not there anymore. But yes, so the 7/8 adds some personality to this, and this allows us to have this constant 16 notes. Otherwise, if it would have been in 4/4 or in 6/8 or something a little bit more predictable or usual, I think we might have had to change the rhythm a little bit. Something a little bit more changing like this. But now I like this idea to have this kind of metronomic pulse and metronomic element to the piece. And you'll see in the arrangement that I made for the rest of the instruments how that pays off. So this is really where I started with this arrangements. So after that, I decided to orchestrate a little bit more this rhythmic ostinato. So let's see what I've done with the other instrument for this. All right, so we have 2 percussions, so a glockenspiel, a xylophone, and a harp. That's also playing this. Notice they're playing some things that are a little bit different. So we have this C here, but the harp is really playing tan 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 tan. So a little bit more towards the 8th note, the 8th note pattern, ting ting tum ting ting tum, as well as the xylophone. And the glockenspiel, same thing, but adding a little bit more brilliance in the upper part and also playing over what the violins are playing here. The glockenspiel actually sound 2 octaves higher than written. Let's just listen to these 3 percussions. So these are great instruments to play with this kind of pulse here. Each one of them plays in their register. Also, the xylophone is heard an octave higher than written. So again, over the violin here and right under the glockenspiel here. So that was more than enough for my rhythmic pattern. So let's hear all this part together. So the violins, viola, and the percussions here. And I'll leave my cello part just so you can hear the bass line as well. And see that the pattern starts dissolving around the end. And I also adapt the notes for the second chord, so this is really important. So figuring this out right at first, this rhythmic pattern that's going to be there behind the rest of the music is really important for this. It's like the background layer that's gonna really give a lot of personality to your music. And since we're doing this change of chord, like this broderie chord, that's this neighboring chord, we need to make sure that there's no note playing over another. Like if here I would have put F sharp, this would have been disturbing to this here, because there's the E minor chord underneath here. So the harp is following this actually. But here I couldn't do this, so I decided to go down here and play the D, which is a little bit less disturbing with the E minor chord, because we already have the D as a root note. It's already there. So right, you have to really be careful with this. Also notice the harp is doing some glissandos here. You'll see with the rest of my arrangement where this is important. So once I done this, it was time to add some more strings. So my cello and double bass are doing doubling these lower notes. And notice the double bass is only coming in for the crescendo here and going away for the rest of the piece. So it just comes in for this intense moment and then it's back off. Now, before I talk about this second line of strings, which is really interesting, let's see this line here. I wanted this rhythmic ostinato to have behind it, or taking over the music at some point, a melody, an important melody that will be led by the brasses. So it's just to show at this point to add to this crescendo effect, going to the forte, and where the chord is changing as well. So we have an octave of 4 horns and 2 trombones. These are actually balanced, because 4 horns equals 2 trombones. It's fine in terms of volume, of course, and especially if it's in its higher register like this. This high C is okay. You can, if they are warmed up, it's fine. So it's all virtual instruments now, so they're good. But yes, this melody takes over, and all the rest of the brass section is coming in right on the chord change, so on the forte here. The trumpet is doing this higher D note, showing the full D major chord here. The bass trombone and the tubas are simply giving this slow D note that the double bass are playing. And we have a little movement going down. This was actually the first main melody, and I harmonized it a little bit with the trumpets here. And as well with the trombones going up. And notice here I added the suspended cymbal just for this crescendo. So let's listen to what this all sounds now. So see that this brass section really contributes to this whole crescendo part, and it really becomes like the first character of all of this. But still, we feel this pulse. It's just a little bit more behind when the forte comes in, and then it comes back again, and we start hearing it again at the end. It's gonna be even more than that with the final arrangement. So let's go and see the rest of the arrangement. So I made some divisis with my strings. So this is actually something that is a little bit difficult in concert because you want really the full power of the full first violin section and the full power of the second violin section. So if you divide them, you lose a lot of this. You lose a lot of sound. So it's like you ask half of the musicians to play for this. So this upper part, it will be a lot less powerful. So something I do a lot when I record an orchestra in studio is that I ask the violins, all the strings, to play the upper part first, and then I do an overdub, on which they record the lowest line. So this allows me to have two takes of strings doing these different lines. But when you do this, you have to make sure that when you're recording the upper line, they're all doing the same pattern or the same texture or the same musical element. So this is what I do here. The upper part is all this rhythmic ostinato, and the lowest part are all these kind of arpeggios and trills and little effects. So this allow you also to mix these when you do some mixing afterwards, to mix it in. And this is a great way to double up the sound of your orchestra. If you can hire like 50 string orchestra, well, you can do it by just hiring like the 20 musicians and doubling them up, so you got this big string texture suddenly. But yeah, the cellos are just doing the lower octave, and same thing for the double basses. But yes, these small effects, you'll see. I wanted to add a little bit more freedom within this. So what's interesting with this 7/8 pattern? It's so strict and it's so continuous. It's really pulsy, and I wanted some gestures and some colors to make this feel a little bit more unpredictable. So this is why there's no repetition. You see here it's playing on the upbeat and upbeat again, and the last beat here, and then here on the beat, and then upbeat, whatever, and they're just doing different things. So actually, let's just listen to this first group of three lines here. Just a couple bars. So a nice group of effect, and I purposely made it unpredictable as well. But notice afterwards, when there's the forte coming in, they're doing these high tremolo notes. They're actually highlighting the melody here, some of the notes from the trumpets, the notes from the horns as well, but mostly in the highest register to add some light to the sound. And then calming down a little bit with the diminuendo, so it's a good thing. Like this, you have more sound on the tremolo and then on the forte, and after that, just long notes, long forte notes going down into piano and pianissimo. So blending back into the lowest part of the string orchestra here. But now I didn't say a word about the woodwinds, so let's go see the woodwinds. So yeah, the woodwinds are also doing this kind of gesture. This is why I didn't want to talk about them up until now. We can say that the bass instruments of the woodwind section are just joining the double basses and the cello as well. But here, these guys are participating into what the second set of strings are doing. So I'm just gonna focus on these and just listen to these actually. So without the pulse. So also the woodwinds at the end are joining the rest of the orchestra. It's like they all come together on this and they just disappear together. It's like we're building the sound of the orchestra at the beginning and people are not quite playing together, and then here they all come together. But this pulse is always there and not changing. So this creates two different layers, two different changing layers that are quite interesting. So now, how does this all sound together? Let's have a listen to our final version. So this is such a satisfying orchestration process when you're adding layers and then things just work out and you have this big lush sound at the end. And it's all because I had a plan in mind with this rhythmic ostinato holding me together with just 2 chords and a beautiful horn melody. So again, if you like the content, please make sure you subscribe and join the channel as a member to support me and to make sure I can deliver more videos for you. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.